Welcome, guys, to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have Utkarsh Narang with us today. He is founder at Ignited Neurons. He is live from Australia, an early bird. He gets up at 4:45. I got up at 5:30 a.m. and I sleep at like midnight, so that's not enough sleep, in my opinion. I'll need to get to bed earlier today. Had a great day, pretty productive so far, and Utkarsh is starting his, so we're gonna make this a fiery start of the day for him. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start scale, be invited to podcasts like this one, find sponsors, pick brains for free, grow your network, grow your net worth as well with leads and sales and everything that come out of podcasts. They're just amazing. So if I can help you with that, podbuyer.com is my agency. Let's get to work and let's roll. Utkarsh, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and a bit more about Ignited Neurons?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Charles, for having me. Yeah, I think that is not enough sleep, the amount of sleep that you're getting, because I try to get to bed by 10, and I have two boys who are 9 and 12. So they know that if it's 9:30, quarter to 10, it's time to stay away from dad, else he's going to get upset because he needs his sleep. But thank you for the warm introduction. Looking forward to our conversation today. I've had a career that's been driven by my own freedom, I would say, Charles. And so I started as a physical therapist for about 6, 7 years, built my private practice back in Delhi, India. Then I was not bored of it, but I wanted to kind of explore like what's more, like how do I put a dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs used to say. And so I joined a professor from Columbia Business School doing filming and editing for them. And from there went into sales and operations till about when the pandemic struck. This is when I realized that my life is short, and if there are some dreams, let's fulfill them and not die with those dreams to the graveyard. And so that's when I started Ignited Neurons, because I truly believe that our neurons are firing all the time, leading to beautiful things that we are creating on the planet. And so Ignited Neurons was thus born. I am an executive coach, Charles, and I do facilitation for organizations across the world. And hyper focused on content creation, because I think that's where the value gets driven to the masses, and hopefully on a mission to touch a billion lives positively. Let's see where I reach. Wherever I reach, I think it'll be a beautiful place to be.
Wow, that's a cool background. And yeah, for the sleep, I certainly know I am experimenting on that philosophy this year.
Mm.
So far, so good. I think my brain still operates pretty well, and I'm deriving happiness from the less time that I sleep. Now, the mental performance, yes, is a bit less, but overall, it is good and it is a fun experiment. So, as I have seen there, so from Delhi to Australia, that's one transition. Another has been from the corporate world to the founder world. And you've been basically having a life, a dinner, a 1v1 dinner with life, looking at life in the eyes and saying, look, we need to do something here because COVID happens. You probably had close family members that have got it, and you've seen the news. You've seen people die. I had folks in my family die from it.
Yeah.
Um, how has how have you lived these transitions? How quick have you adapted to them?
Yeah. I think where it starts for me, Charles, is when you start to work on yourself early. That's really is going to be instrumental in being adaptive through these transitions, if we may call them. Because we attach our self identity. If I were to still attach myself as being a physiotherapist right now, then I would be really unhappy. But I have to attach myself to this new identity that I'm a content creator, or I'm an executive coach, and I have to be joyful with that. And so I recall when I was in 12th grade, I'd gone with a few friends to a shop to buy t shirts for myself, which every youngster would want to do. And there were beautiful t shirts out there. But the one that grabbed my eye, it had in Hindi, it had written Main Kaun Hu, which in English translates into Who am I? And that kind of was my t-shirt that I wore through, like that's my go-to comfort t-shirt, which I would wear for like the next 3 4 years. And that question has always kind of fueled the fire, so to say, Charles, that who am I really? I mean, am I a physical therapist? Am I a father? Am I a sibling? Am I a son? Am I a husband? And so that allows me to have these flexibilities, I think. And if one can figure that out, that who are you truly deeply madly, And then I think the rest of the transitions become a little easier, Charles, if I may want to say that.
I go to these retreats here on the coast of Oaxaca,
Mm.
Hidaya Yoga, it's called. And
Yeah.
that's the question, to center yourself. Who am I? It's not, I have some resistance to
Mm.
maybe because it's the depth of it. Because my first sign is ego, right? Is like, I know who the fuck I am.
Mm.
Like, why do I need to question myself?
Mm.
Is that fear? Is that aggression? Is that
Mm.
like protecting something? Is like a pit bull protecting its territory?
Right.
I don't know, because I think I've questioned myself quite a lot. I've taken the time. I am various things. Also, I'm not like this box human being. I'm not necessarily just a capitalist. I'm not just a startup guy. I'm not just a spiritual guy. I'm not just a friend. It's a complex question.
Yeah.
And they use that question, by the way, not to really question strictly who am I,
Right.
but they use it to sort of trick the ego and the mind
Mm.
into really asking itself, like, who am I? What am I in the end? Am I
Yeah.
Athens? Am I a heart-centered human being?
Yeah.
And the question apparently helps you get into deeper meditative state. And in my
Yeah.
case, it didn't work. Why do you think it is that way?
Yeah, I think the way I'm seeing this and being a coach, I love to play with emotions because that's where I think at the root all our expression, all our behavior is driven from emotions. I think I'll share my own story, Charles, that instead of looking at from a place of aggression, place of doubt, place of questioning myself or questioning who am I or what the fuck do I know about myself, or maybe I know everything about myself, so who the hell are you to ask me that question? I think I've gone into this with a place of curiosity that who else can I be? And maybe I'm right now a coach. I'm sitting here in Melbourne, Australia, 7:30 a.m., having my coffee, talking to you. But I'll evolve through this conversation, and by 8:15, there'll be someone else be kind of be created. And this constant evolution is what keeps me going on this who am I question. And so I'm looking at this with a spirit of curiosity, with a spirit of like, what's more there, man? Like there's no end to it, right? Because you could create billions of dollars or you could be just in a meditative space and you can find your zone, find your happiness. So I think this first question of who am I, if we start to reflect on that, that to then leads me to what's success for me. And if someone would look at me and say that, because you're such a stupid person because you were a master's in orthopedic physiotherapy, you had 3 clinics in Delhi, what prompted you to sell those clinics off? And they cannot understand that because they're not walking in my shoes. They can be physiotherapists, they can be whoever they are, the business minds of the world, but they won't understand it till they walk in my shoes, right? And so for me, the first question then becomes from a place of curiosity, who else can I be? So who am I right now so that I can define who else I can be? And then the second question becomes, what does success mean to me? And through these experiments, Charles, I think what's really core to me is that understanding what those values are that kind of drive you. Because I operate with 5 values, Charles. They've evolved over the last 15 years, I would say. But the last 3 years, I've seen them be very constant. And so they're discipline. If the call had to be at 7:30 a.m., I have to be there at 7:29 because anything after 7:30, I'm late. And it could be hundreds and thousands of reasons I can give. The internet did not work. Oh, I was just warming up my coffee, but I'm late. The second is freedom. The freedom allowed me to be from a physiotherapist to go into a content creator to go into sales to go into being a coach, and that's my choice. So that's freedom. Third is excellence. If right now with you I'm not giving my best self, I'm like completely distracted looking at something on my notes and the doesn't make sense, then that's not delivery done in excellence. Fourth is growth. We have to grow in life. Like that's the to me, if I were, and that's personal to me, if I were not growing, I better be dead. That's point blank for me. And the final one is love. That I'm meeting Charles here today with a lot of love. The people who are listening to this podcast, they should feel the love that I'm sending through this video to them, and that's what's going to stir their spirit and hopefully help them make changes. So does that help, Charles, to shift the framework from aggression to maybe a place of curiosity?
I'm always like default curious. I feel I'm always operating at very, very high levels of curiosity, which is also
Mm.
why this question doesn't have much purpose for me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we're like humans can have like very different mindsets, and me, I'm very contrarian on a lot of things. I
Yeah.
think a lot also, so that might be my frustration, it's like, oh, I'm smart and you're not. And my ego loves saying that, it
Mm.
loves being like, oh, I'm high IQ, I already thought about who am I. So
Yeah.
that might be it. Want to ask though about your values.
Mm.
How have they served you so far in terms of
Mm.
objective, and do you
Mm.
A/B test them?
Mm. Yeah. So I started with 8 values, Charles, because I thought five would be too little. But then over a period of time, when I would reflect every now and then, I initially did like almost like a daily reflection for say 3-4 weeks to make sure that all these 8 values are they being operated or not. And I realized that one or two of them, if I don't even have them, I'll be okay without them. And so it happened over time. So a lot of reflection, a lot of introspection, a lot of just like Marcus Aurelius would say, right? Be strict with yourself, be tolerant with others. And so I love to be strict with myself, and that does not mean that that it is like a pressure of performance or pressure of something else hampering my mental health. Not at all. Being very balanced. So, but still, when I was deciding in 2020, and I had a great corporate job, it was paying me really well, and anyone who would be out of their mind would leave the job that they were in at that point. I was touching lives through the work that I was doing, but then there was this value called freedom, which was trying to get in the way. Because as soon as COVID happened, there was this moment where you had a lot of time on your hand. You were not traveling, you were in one place. And so you could create content, you could do a lot of different things. But doing a lot of different things meant that it would be against the HR policy of an organization, or it would be something that the founder that you work for would not agree with, and very rightly so. And so I felt this is curtailing my freedom. Can I compromise with this value? And the answer on several days would come out as no, I cannot. And then I decided that it's time to move on. It's time to build something of my own, because I want to value that freedom, value that creative choice that I have. We moved to Melbourne, Australia only 6 months ago, Charles. So March of 2023 is when we moved here. So still kind of finding our grounding. But again, the value of freedom came out. So I think the values, if you deep dive onto them, if you reflect on your life, if you be honest with yourself, I'm pretty sure the values are going to be expressed in beautiful ways.
I think humans change also with years. I'm adding mindset frameworks to myself. I would describe those as micro changes.
Mm-hmm.
The macro doesn't tend to change that much.
Yeah.
I've also A/B tested some guiding visions, aka make the humanity a better place or something like that, or make humanity move forward. And I
Yeah.
found that these moonshot philosophies weren't helping me too much on the short term. They were too broad. I wouldn't relate to them. Do you still use visions or catchphrases or vision boards to help you think and guide yourself, your soul, your actions towards the destination you want to go?
Yeah, I would say so. And I'll give you an example as we discussed that, being an entrepreneur, and you might agree with that, is not an easy job. It people feel that you do it for the freedom and you do it for blah, blah, blah. But it takes a lot of effort to being disciplined with yourself, or being showing up even when the world might not believe in you, and going into those pitching rounds again and again and not finding what you're seeking. And so there was a moment in my initial journey in 2021 where I was like, what the fuck, man? What did I do? This is completely hopeless. I'm not going to be able to set any business up. I had like a few clients. And so my coach really helped me figure out, like, Utkarsh, why are you doubting yourself? And through that kind of conversation, a catchphrase came to me which said, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? And I really stuck that to my desk, and I kept looking at it, because you need something to fuel that path. You need something to ignite that spark so that keep going on the path. And I think that's how these catchphrases are to me, sources of wisdom, sources of inspiration. That's one. The second thing I feel like, when you were talking about A/B testing, and I think our listeners would also enjoy that. There's a saying, I think if I remember correctly, by Gandhi. He would say that I die every night, and then I'm reborn the next morning. To me, instead of making experiments larger, like on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, what if we could do experiments on a daily basis? We wake up in the morning with a hypothesis, experiment through the day with us, and end with some kind of a revelation, some kind of a data point for ourselves, and we collect data points over life, and they would change the micro, as you were saying. The macro might stay the same or shift as well. But yeah, I think these experiments have a lot of joy once you start to get into these, Charles.
Couple of technical questions for you on the business side of things. Who do you target and what are your price points if I want to work with you?
Yeah. So I'm focusing right now on mostly B2B. So I want to reach out to learning and development heads. I reach out to human resource heads. I reach out to founders who are trying to build a culture for their organization. And that's where I consult them. The core kind of statement that I work with is that I'm going to help your managers become future leaders of your organizations. Because sometimes in early stage startups and even in larger organizations, when managers grow internally, it's not easy for them to understand what leadership really means, to understand how they would delegate, how they would develop their people, how they would give feedback, for instance. And so I help them go through all those challenges. The price points, it's a more consultative gig, Charles. There's no kind of one size fits all, but it could like vary from an hourly to a day basis kind of pricing, and which might be variable, I think, if that answers your question.
Yeah, and how much do you charge for 3 to 6 months for us to work together? Let's say that I want to be more calm and I want to achieve my business goals twofold here. So it's like, what would be the program here? How much should I pay?
Yeah. So in that cases, it's more like you're coming to me as a client, and I'm going to help you build your organization and stay calm and build a more fulfilling life, if that's a word that stuck and sticks. In that case, I would do like a 3 to 6 month journey. I'll say let's meet up at least twice a month, Charles, and that would be anywhere between say $3,000 to $5,000 for the whole journey. So yeah.
And there's a lot of coaches out there. There's also like lots of options. I believe there's a bunch of AI coaching app and so forth. I
Right.
use HeyPi, for example, to talk to a bot that quote unquote listens to me and offers advice on a weekly basis, most probably.
Mhm.
Why would people go with your program vs another coach?
Mhm. Yeah. I think the right person has to stick with the right person, and that's a very strong belief that I have. So I put a lot of content on LinkedIn. I put a lot of value out there for people. My whole approach, Charles, is that work on yourself, and the rest will take care of it. And find what you really think success is as defined for you. And so people can go to other coaches, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I think I'll provide a very different perspective in terms of that. And the right person will come to me. So the universe plays in beautiful ways. I'm not ever worried about that. The second thing on the AI, I think the AI is progressing at a massive pace. And if as a coach, as a creator, as a founder, as whoever you are on the planet, from someone like my son, he's 7 years, and he might want to use ChatGPT for his homework, to me, who would want to create content and use ChatGPT for that work as well. I think AI can do a lot of data for you, can do a lot of tasks easy for you, can do the mundane, the automated for you beautifully, can create content that's very valuable, and no denying that. But AI, does it really understand the emotion that the person is feeling? I don't think so. And so how the coaching differentiates from an AI bot helping you is that the bot is advising you based on what's available on the planet. But what coaching will help you do is tap into your own self, your own resources, to hopefully create something within you that's not yet there on the planet. To look at your own emotions, to look at your own challenges, and try and figure those out. So I think there's a difference there. But yeah, it'll catch up.
For sure. And what types of goals do you have for your own business this year? I mean, you've owned like 3 physiotherapy clinics, we're making good money. How can you go back to these numbers again with your coaching practice?
Yeah. So I think I've redefined success for myself, Charles, in this moment, and and I'm still kind of working my own relationship through money right now, which has not been very kind of. I've always been like, whatever you get, spend, use in your family, and this and that, pay your bills, and that's about it. No large focus on like what will happen 15 years from now, because I really believe that the skills that I have will be valuable 15 years from now, and if not, I'll evolve my skills to do something better. So the focus really is to hone in on the content game, because I'm seeing that's the scale where we can create beautiful things. I continue to serve organizations in India and in Australia, and coaching across the world. So that kind of continues to be on almost like a automated pilot basis, where clients come to me, I coach them, things get done. But ultimately, I want to build like that content game on Instagram and on LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel which had couple of thousand subscribers, but right now paused on that. So LinkedIn is where I'm focusing with Instagram. So hopefully, yeah, the content game is where the focus right now is, because it's going to blow up in the next few years. Like, it's already scaling at a massive pace, but in the next few years, I think 5 to 10 years, we'll see this inflate even to bigger numbers.
The relationship with money, I mean, why wouldn't we spend the money that we have on our health? I mean, most of these billionaires, the only reason why they're trying to get rich is to fulfill some ego or some
Mm.
irrational need in them that they're not enough, they're never enough, you know.
Mm.
And also, what's the meaning of being a billionaire if you're not spending that money? There's really no meaning other than you're consuming a bunch in the system and you're not giving back.
Yeah.
So why? And plus, these millionaires or billionaires are willing to spend most of their wealth if someone is going to fix their health. So why not pre-spend it on your health, pre-spend it in your relationship? Why even have trust funds for your kids and not give the money to them right now so that they can learn skills and build their own money? You know,
Yeah.
so why save money?
Yeah. I'm with you on that. And part of me like feels there's a big difference between what we need and what we want, right? And I could want $1 million house, I could want a big car in front of my house, and this and that, but is that really a need? Like, I question that. And that's why then the second question that I start to ask myself is that if I don't need a 100,000 200,000 car, then why do I have to do a lot to focus on that? Like, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I go to the park, sit under the tree, and read a book. I go to the field with my kids and play basketball with them. And so I want to be, again, that choice of freedom that comes back to me. That choice of what success really means to me comes back to me. And to those who feel like it's important for them to earn and spend the money, so be it. I believe more in experiences, Charles. Like, why don't travel to a new location, travel a new island, maybe experience and meet people there. And so those are things that give me more value than like purchasing a big car or things like that. Car is to me like A to B, that's it. So yeah, to each their own. I think that's where it lies.
Yeah, first on my side, like I don't want to die. That's one. That's very rational. So
Mm.
I'm gonna invest quite a lot in that. That's the first reason why I want to become a trillionaire. The
Mm.
second would be that I think that some people are gonna make some decisions that are gonna impact me and have control on me if I don't have my own. I will still respect other people's life, whatever choice they want to make, although power it corrupts. So I need to be careful with that. But that's another reason why I want to be mega rich. And third, I
Mm.
believe I can impact a bunch of causes with that money that I do believe will be beneficial for others, obviously with myself first. And
Yeah.
finally, maybe if I make that much money, maybe I can even crack capitalism and invent a new version of it that would benefit others. So these would be my goal. And a
Yeah.
Lambo on the way there, well, I don't think a Lambo is a good investment. First, you
Mm.
fart on the planet all the time. You
Correct.
make a lot of noise in public. You know, I don't want to attract attention on myself,
Mm.
but it might be nice to drive it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's per person decisions. But yeah, what do you think
Absolutely.
about that? What if there's a person that produced an AGI that now has control over your family, or there's military companies that are not watching you? You know, like doesn't that wouldn't that justify making a lot of money?
If you look at like from that lens, it definitely does. And what you're saying is true. So I will not disagree with that. But again, a choice again based on a lot of assumptions. and we're all doing these mathematical calculations in our head, and then choosing to live in a certain way. We can either stay victims, like just taking a conversation to the other side. Just we can stay victims and say that this is not right and that's not right, and this is or we can like take control of the situation. And I think the choice is always ours. If you choose and I choose to buy a Lamborghini, it's a choice, and so be it. Why would I or you judge someone else, or someone else for that, or someone else does not have the authority to judge us? And so I think we all bring in our unique perspectives and choices, and we should have that freedom to make those choices, Charles.
And as we started this conversation, I think it's important to A/B test, So if you want to
Yeah.
A/B test buying a Lambo, yes, you will lose money because it devaluates, but who knows? Just test it at least if you've got the means to do it. Utkarsh, thank you for showing up today. Where can people find out more about you?
So they can find me on LinkedIn and on Instagram. LinkedIn, if you look at Utkarsh Narang, that's the name of my spelling, the spelling of my name. I'm pretty sure Charles will have that in the podcast. So just hit me up on LinkedIn. I think that's the best way. And Instagram, we're as Ignited Neurons. So look forward to connecting with people and seeing where life takes us.
And I am Charles Cormier, your host of founderwisdompodcast.com.